We are Journals Out Loud. Hello and welcome. I'm your lovely and captivating host, Louise Palanker, here with a panel of wise and wonderful teenagers. We're here to liven up your week, your life.
I've been out there wandering.
Those were people singing. Give them a round of applause. They're very insecure. Your appreciation is deeply, deeply needed and admired. It's nice to admire admirers. Am I right? We've got Ryan, we've got Lyric, we've got Josh, Victoria, Maddie. Jeff's in Twitter. He's manning the Twitter.
Wow.
And so if you're tweeting, you can tweet. What should they tweet, Jeff? At Journals Network. You can tweet to at Journals Network about how awesome and attractive we are. And we're here. What?
Nothing.
Well, it's just that it's mostly me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
Sure.
there's certain things that are
Yes,
just
Ryan.
implied, but I mean, everyone's attractive, and then there's Ryan.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then we have some guests in the studio, Maddie. Who are your guests in the studio?
So my guess, I don't know if you guys remember from last week, I had a story about a friend
Right.
that I met in my dorm
Who you hated.
who I hated.
Oh, you hated her.
I hated her.
Yes.
But now I love her. She's like my sister. And so over there is Maylia.
Maylia.
That's a pretty name.
We're going to have to hear from
Yeah.
Maylia about how she won your love.
Yes.
Was it a single rose?
Sure. Or, rocks thrown out a window.
Or top ramen?
Yeah.
Anything?
Totally, yes. And a friend of hers, ours mutual friend from school.
Yes. I called him Colin or Connor, but that's not his name.
No.
What is his name?
It is. I always pronounce it wrong.
Right. So let's see if we can do this.
Khaled.
Khalid.
Khalid. Yes.
Like the
Nodding.
DJ.
Are you nodding?
DJ.
They don't have a microphone.
Khaled?
Yeah.
Yes.
Khalid.
TJ Khaled.
It's Egyptian.
Yup. And
Yes.
he's adorable. So we've got that going
He
at
is.
Ryan. Competition.
I know.
All right, so we're going to
Sorry,
dive into
Ryan.
questions. We've got questions from teenagers, and if you have ever been a teenager, if you are currently a teenager, if you know or have ever... Aaron's doing the limbo past my camera. And he did it, like, really badly. Like, it wasn't...
I was impressed. I thought that was really
I
good.
know. I thought that
artful.
was really
Oh, there you go.
That was beautiful.
Did you get a shot of that, Jeff? He's getting better. Practice. Is there, like, an Olympic event for limbo?
There needs to be.
Totally.
There should be.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked at the amount of Olympic events that you wouldn't think that
There's a
are.
lot of
And they're
weird
adding new ones.
Yeah.
They're adding new
Yeah,
ones. all
what's
the
your
Yeah.
time.
favorite weirdo event?
Honestly, like synchronized swimming, you wouldn't think that's a thing. But like when you're just like Olympic medals for all doing the same thing at the same time, like a lot of people do that. Just do the same thing at the same time, but don't get Olympic medals for
But
it.
they don't have synchronized clapping because I'd be so good at that.
Right?
I can clap right
Audiences
along with
could get
everyone.
it all at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I saw a video of the Philippines team in freediving or just some diving event. I don't know much about diving. And they just were so bad. It was unbelievable. Like two of them belly flopped. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen at a sporting.
But they're the best in the Philippines, so you got to give them
That's
something.
true. That's
give 'em
true.
something for
Is
that.
curling
All right.
an Olympic sport?
Yes.
Is what?
Absolutely.
Curling,
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, right? That's just the strangest thing.
It's
to
a
me.
creepy
Yeah.
sport. It's scary.
Yeah.
Like the stuff of nightmares.
It's really hard to look cool with a brush.
Now I know how to scare you.
And they
I
just
love
move
it.
very
Challenge.
quickly, but not very. It's just like rapid but short.
YouTube comment section and say, hey, you guys are awesome. Next week, would you talk about this, that, or the other? And we will. You can friend us on Twitter, Facebook, and or Instagram, and we will be your friend. We're quite friendly. Even Maddie eventually will talk to you if you live with her long enough.
She still doesn't talk to
I
me.
mean, we have evidence.
Why would no?
Right, yes. He
Well,
just doesn't talk to
Ryan,
me.
I mean,
I get it. I'm
A rose.
intimidating.
Yeah.
a rose or
No.
ramen. She needs something.
Both.
Her friendship can be bought. All right, so Badlands Warrior writes, I'm a 15-year-old girl. I like this guy, and he's 16. I found out he smokes weed, which I am disappointed about. He messaged my best friend asking if I would ever smoke weed. I have anxiety, social anxiety, and I may have bipolar. Also, I might have heart palpitations. I'm curious to try smoking weed, but I wouldn't want my parents to find out. I'm so confused because you only live once, but I'm scared of what would you do and what should I do? I love it when people say you only live once because they always say it in defense of something that will kill you, like now.
Yeah, I know.
Tomorrow. Victoria.
That's
Something to add.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like you have health problems, so that's like most people have like a moral thing to deal with, or like a is this gonna get me into trouble at school, parents, blah blah blah. But like you have a whole nother level of something to consider because this could be a serious danger to your health. Like I know someone who like ate a weed brownie by accident and had an allergic reaction. like, because they didn't know they were allergic to it. But, like, health issues are, like, not a joke. Lyric.
Now, here's the thing. Some people who have anxiety or issues like this do actually get medical marijuana to help them. But I think waiting till you're older, if you do decide to do that, because right now you're still growing too, and you have these issues that you're actively dealing with. And so I think if you are, like, possibly interested in trying it, which it sounds like you anyway don't really want to, waiting till you're older. And I mean, yeah, there's so many reasons pointing to why you shouldn't do this that I just don't think it's a good idea. But yeah, right.
And I would also say on top of that, just because I do have some experience with heart problems, because I have a few different, I don't want to call them conditions, but circumstances with my heart. I guess they're conditions. There's not a lot of research done on the interactions of marijuana and a lot of different problems just because it's illegal in so many different places. But I can say for sure that there have been studies done, because I've read them, parts of them. I haven't read the whole thing, that it does not interact well with your heart. If you have problems like palpitations or premature contractions or anything like that, you want to stay away from it.
Yeah, and adding on to what Lyric and Ryan said about, like, wait until you're older, and also until it's legal for you to do so. Like, if you don't have your card, then it's not legal for you to even do what you're doing, so you're breaking the law. So at the end of the day, also look at that. Like, I don't know if I think she said it was boyfriend, right? If your boyfriend is doing it legally, but more than likely he's probably doing it illegally, especially since he is under the age of 18. So just take a look at that.
How do you guys feel about the tendency to, or the temptation to, self-medicate when you do have anxiety problems and different problems, and then you smoke a little bit of weed and it makes you feel better, and then you think, okay, either consciously or subconsciously, you think, like, I think I can manage this on my own with, these substances, right? I
don't have a really strong stance on it, but just that the people I know who say they self-medicate in that way are not, and say it works for them, are not generally the people I admire or consider particularly successful, and not because of that. Just generally who they are is not the type of person I am impressed by, and they also tend to go hand in hand with saying that they're able to self-medicate with things like marijuana. Maddie?
I honestly think that, if somebody who's self-medicating with marijuana, if it's helping them at the moment, great. I think that if it's not going to help them, they'll probably find out. If it is, they'll probably eventually keep doing it until they get to the age where they'll either go, you know what, this is really helping me, and I'm at the age where I'm going to go get a card. Or, it's not, and I'm going to try something else, medication, exercise, whatever else. So, be safe, but, just be safe.
Josh?
Yeah, I would say along with the self-medication part, I know a lot of people that do self-medicate, and it's also, they say it's recreational for them, but at the same time, I've noticed it's more of really just to escape what they're having to deal with in their life. I don't think that most people who are using it recreationally are even doing it so just to have fun. They're doing it because there is something else they're trying to get away from. So I would say that if you're going to do it, like, focus on your health first, focus on the fact that it's legal, and also make sure you're doing it just because you're curious, not because you're trying to get away from something. Lyric?
Yeah, and I mean, there have been studies that like marijuana has helped people who are autistic, but that is for a reason that they talked to their doctor and they said this will help you to become better. So if you do think that could be something that could help you, but it doesn't sound like you do, like you don't want to do this. So yeah, but
Victoria.
Just looking that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't use it as a way to get away, because the problems that you already have are going to stay there if you don't fix them.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to fix the problems before you try to get away from them. You know what I mean? It's only temporary.
Yeah, fix and diagnose properly.
Yeah.
Because you can't even know for sure how you feel if you're always numb.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know it's really hard to grow up and feel like, oh, I don't know how to feel good about myself. I don't know how to feel right. Everything feels so confusing, because everything does at that age regardless. Like anxiety adolescence just creates anxiety. It just hurts to be an adolescent. Sometimes you're just like in pain because the actual emotional growing up is really a painful experience. So it's tempting to be like, oh, have a little of that with peer pressure and say, wow, I feel so much better when I'm just a little buzzed and I feel like I could be more myself because I'm not as scared. And to me, it feels like this kid has every sign of someone who's about to become a problem pot smoker. She likes a guy who wants her to smoke weed because no one likes to smoke weed alone. She already has anxiety. She already has social anxiety. She's worried about being bipolar. She's like a prime candidate for having pot run her life. And I think it's wonderful that she wrote to us because we can say, like, pump the brakes. It's great that you raised your hand and said, is this okay? Because I'm going to say it's not. And doctors need to be telling you, like, oh, well, this would be therapeutic and this would not be, rather than you just kind of going for it and guessing because you like a boy who likes to get high.
Yeah.
So just really, really be careful. You don't want to spend your whole life medicated and not really able to become the best person that you're capable of being. Yes, Lyric.
And if the temptation is too strong, it may have to get to the point where you have to not be around him. I mean, that, like, if he keeps bringing it up and he's like, hey, you need to try this with me, and you've told him, which, you know, hopefully you can have this conversation and say, here are the reasons why I don't want to do this. But if he presses you, then maybe you need to step away from this relationship.
And I also feel like even when pot becomes legal, because I think it will, it's still for people over 21. It's still going to be for people who are in a position to make better choices about what's healthy and what isn't healthy and what is or isn't interfering with the rest of your life and your responsibilities. All right, so we just got scripts in. Thank you, Jake.
Yay.
Who wants to read the next question? Go ahead, Lyric.
I'm going to be a sophomore in high school, and I haven't had a boyfriend. The boys that I talk to always end up being my friend. I don't know how to start talking to guys. If I reach out to a guy first, I overthink everything and become afraid that they hate me. What do you all do? Do you have any guy advice? Sorry, I can't read.
Maddie?
Well, this is, I mean, I'm assuming that she's, or he, it's anonymous, so I'm assuming that this person is reaching out looking for a romantic relationship, not a friend relationship, because they're not wanting friends, it's seeming like. So I think the best way is to kind of, you have to take some bold steps. I think you have to kind of be a little bit brave when it comes to insinuating that you like someone in kind of like a non-friend to someone. But if you kind of always, keep it friendly, the person may never know that you're interested in them in a kind of non-friendly way, and that can just get kind of confusing for them in like just because they're like, oh, I literally just never knew because you never made it clear. So, say something that's like, like, hey, like, let's go get coffee, just the two of us, without a whole group. You know what I mean? That's kind of something that is less friendly, more romantic oriented. But Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that just focus on being friends with this other person and not necessarily go into it like, I want him to be my boyfriend. Like, get to know him, get to know, like, what is in common between the two of you or what's not in common between the two of you, as well as I know a lot of people who didn't have boyfriends or girlfriends, like people who didn't date until senior year. So don't rush it. Just be where you're at and know that nothing's wrong with you. Ryan?
Well, I had a thought, but I totally lost it. So
I just wanted to interject that whole concept of her feeling like someone would hate her if they found out that her intentions were romantic.
No.
But that's kind of like what's in the body of her question. So
that's what I was going to.
So let's talk to that, Ryan.
Yeah, it just came when you mentioned that, it came back to me. I think I said this maybe last week or the week before, but there was a question about someone who wanted to reach out to someone they saw at a party and follow on Instagram but didn't actually talk to. And I was explaining that to me, and I can't speak for everyone else, but at least to me, if someone reaches out to me and I see that they're interested in me, there's no way I can take that in a bad way. It's at the very least a compliment to say someone's interested in you, and if not, intriguing, and you might be interested in them as well. So I really wouldn't be scared of that. I know it can be embarrassing because people don't like to be rejected, but the person's not going to take it in a bad way. They just might not feel the same way, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing or you've embarrassed yourself by putting yourself out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I wouldn't interrupt someone, but, not overthinking things is completely key because she could have done so much better on this text. This was a disaster. They're really not, that advanced on first steps. So, it's okay. I'm sure that a hi, how are you is going to be fine. And, it's going to be okay. Don't overthink it. That's the really important thing to keep in mind. People like to be talked to. People like attention. that's just kind of how we are as human beings. We really like attention.
I think there's a lot of middle school kind of dating and name only that happens that makes people feel like they're supposed to be more experienced than they actually are when they get to high school. But I've really seen that the actual dating happens junior year, and that especially freshman and sophomore year are terrible experienced than you, but and so they're rejecting you. They really don't. And so, like Maddie said, don't read too much into it. And just because everything's come up, that doesn't mean that no one's ever going to see you romantically. So don't give off that energy that sort of says, oh, you don't like me that way? Well, fine. Like you haven't really been rejected. It's just a friendship that you see as rejection, but friendship is not rejection. It's friendship, which is a very good and positive thing.
Yeah, they might think they're doing the exact opposite of rejecting you by becoming your friend. Like, they might think, like, oh, I'll be her friend first. And, like, they go.
And they're being a gentleman. And boys, they don't. 531-7171. We would love to hear what you think about this. 888-531-7171. You can ask for Khalid. We'll put him right on the phone. Actually, he may answer the phone.
He's very nice.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can put a camera on this kid and his very beautiful friend who Maddie used to hate.
Yes, I hated her
But I would say, Aaron, put a camera on these two. We have two of the most attractive teenagers in America in our studio tonight. There they are. And there's the phone number. You're going to call, and they're going to answer the phone. You're going to get to speak to them.
That was good.
Pardon? Oh, yeah. Tweet at us. Tweet at Journals Network. We want to hear your tweets. Everything that you tweet at us, we will tweet at Donald Trump, and it's going to get really exciting.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
People say. Many people
really
say
like
it
that.
will.
Yeah.
I really like that.
All right. So where are we? Next question. Who wants to read it? Ryan.
I would love to read the next question. Since I was about 6 or 7, I've always had a thought that I would die when I'm 15. At first, I thought it was just thinking because, you think about random things all the time, but this has stayed with me. And as I've gotten older and closer to 15, it's making me so scared and worried. This sounds so silly, but it's not to me. Why am I thinking like this? Why has it stayed with me for so long? Do you think this could really happen?
Yeah, I mean, well, sorry, I didn't mean like yeah. Well, it
Oh,
could
yeah.
happen. It could happen.
You're
yeah.
doomed.
But the first two questions that you asked, so why am I thinking this and why has it stayed with me for so long? I think the answer is pretty much the same. Like, you keep thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you focus on something so much, it's just going to be ingrained, and that's what's going to be there. So if you're constantly thinking, well, I'm going to die at 15, it's going to, like, that's what's going to come into your head. Now, the last question, do you think it could really happen? Yes, it's a definite possibility. It could
Promise
happen.
you.
But I'm saying
Something could happen.
I
But
could walk
not
outside
any
and get
more
hit by
likely.
a car. Like, it's
But
like,
it's
that's
no
not
more
gonna
likely
happen.
than
no,
it.
I know it's not going to happen. But
let
it
me
could.
finish what I'm saying.
Yes, Josh. Go ahead.
I'm not saying you are going to die, but any second is a definite possibility. Like the last question or the question before, YOLO, you really only have one moment. You could die at any moment, but you could live till you're 100.
and
Who
you
knows?
will.
Yes.
You will. And that's the way higher likelihood that you're going to live a very long,
Probably
healthy
way
life.
past 100 with the
My
way
dad used to
medicine's
say,
going.
you've got a bug in your ear. You've put a bug in your ear. Get it out of your ear.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're going to be fine. Lyric.
I think we all do this. I mean, I've done this. I've been like, oh, like tomorrow I'm going to like fall down the stairs. I don't know. Like, we all do this, I think, at least
Yeah.
I do. But it doesn't mean like that it's going to happen. You can't really predict the future like that. Some people might believe that you can, but you can't be like, I'm going to die and then it's going to happen. Like, it's just, that's not the way things work. I don't know. It just seems very unlikely. And I think that this could be a little bit of like an obsessive thought. Like, it definitely is.
I feel
I don't
like
know
it
if it's OCD because this sounds a little bit different, but it is an obsessive thought. And you're just like obsessed with an idea, not like obsessed, like, oh my God, but like you have latched onto this idea of something that is going to happen, that you think is going to happen. And it's hard to get it out of your mind. Like,
Does
it's
anyone-
going to be hard.
Yeah, sorry. Does anyone ever practice replacing a negative thought with a positive thought?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really bad at that.
I'm really bad at
Yeah.
it, but I've tried.
Have you tried? like, can you give an example?
Well, I mean, like, no.
Well, like if I'm having like a bad day and I start to say like, oh, it's going to be one of those days, I just say it's going to be a great day. Yeah.
Jinx.
So right, Jinx. And
Yeah.
Maddie.
Oh, Oh shoot! No, I literally totally forgot.
So yeah, I feel like it's
I
like
feel.
you've got a negative loop in your head, and you. Oh, Victoria wants to talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a superstition that we kind of create in our minds, and sometimes you feel like it's just gonna happen because you've like just thought about it that much. I've done this so many times, and I'm like, what was I worried about? I was like sometimes I do this before an audition, like I'm gonna do so awfully. I'm gonna be like, and then I go in and I get the part, and I'm like, what? I was thinking about this for no reason. So just like think about it that way, you really don't know. You can't make it
But
happen.
you can literally change. Say, I'm going to die at 102. You can just start saying that.
They'll get very
I've
anxious
made
when
that
they're
promise to
101.
myself.
Because at 101, you're going to get really terrified. Okay, there's that.
But just put
But
that
the
off.
rest is going to be awesome. Lyric.
Well, two things. One, now what you're gonna live through your 15th year, and then when after you turn 16, you're gonna go, okay, this is gonna be like I can see this happening. That you might be going, okay, this is gonna be the year that I die.
It's like those
And
doomsday
don't-
people that
Yeah.
next morning they're like,
oh my god.
Yeah, don't go
That
along
was
like
so
each
me in
year
middle
of your
school.
life like I'm gonna die this next year. So and like just be like 15 is gonna be the best year of my life. Like I don't know, something like that.
it's going to be a
But
victory lap.
just try not to like once this year passes, just be like, look, I got through that, and this is just my mind making up something. I mean, it's gonna be over, and you're gonna be like, why did I worry about that?
yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, sometimes not to get like into kind of identity and hold on to it. Like I'm gonna be like the 15-year-old, funeral like I'm gonna be like the dead
it's
person at 15.
Dramatic.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like not in like the dramatic way, but as in like that is kind of like the thing that they're holding on to about. Whereas like some people kind of like they have a sport and that's their thing. And they're dreaming of like being like a big soccer player. So I don't know. Like I don't know. Some people have like a thing that they hold on to, and this is a rather morbid one, but like still, it's sort of kind of an identity. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I see what
But-
you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like a thing that you're not unusual. This happens to people. People
Right.
do think that they're gonna die young.
But you do need to
Yeah.
flip the script right now because it's not an okay script.
No, but like don't be scared that you're the only one in the world.
No,
that
you're not
thinks
the only
you're
one.
gonna
I'm just
die.
saying today's the
No.
last day.
It's a
Flip-
depressing script, and it might push you to do things you wouldn't otherwise want to. A way you would that wouldn't be ways you want to live
I
your
mean,
life.
you don't want to
otherwise.
stay inside your whole 15.
You don't want to be a YOLO person who's out dodging
You
cars and traffic because you're not going to live past 15 anyway.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be a tragic figure.
But you also don't want to lay around in your house because you're scared that if you go outside, you're going to die.
Right, and I do think that words are things and thoughts are things, and you may not be able to immediately replace this thought, but you can add the thought, a positive thought that you write on your mirror or that you write on your wall and that you see every day and read out loud every day so that you can train your brain to have a new loop. Who are you pointing at, Aaron? Josh.
Yeah. So I mean, kind of going off of the full conversation, I think it's also completely normal to every once in a while think about it because it's a natural thing that happens in life. Like everyone is going to pass at some point in time. And for me, like in middle school, like there was a huge phase for me. Like I went through like you said, the doomsday prepper situations, and I was just like, ooh, Googling world ending by earthquake, world ending by.
Yes,
Did you
I
just
got
forget
that
my
right.
name?
I mean, I don't know.
No, what? No,
Just kidding.
I'm
She
like
totally
so
just
out of it
forgot
today.
She forgot your name.
Wow.
No, but I knew.
Hey, you have a new
Okay,
friend of me.
anyway.
Good news.
Watch out.
I'm so tired. Like I can't even think.
You might end up my best friend later. Watch out.
Yeah.
She's going to need a rose.
Yes, I will.
And ramen.
Yes,
And ramen.
that too. So like, yeah, I mean, I've been there where I was like, I'm gonna die this way that no one in like, you know how they're like, oh, no one has ever like been injured in getting their teeth pulled. Like no one's ever died getting their tooth pulled, and I'm like, I'm gonna be that person. Like you know what I mean? You know when people, I get really
To read the next question, Maddie.
great.
Sure, I will read the next one. I honestly believe I love her. She rejected me multiple times, but no matter how much time passes, I find myself unable to stop loving her. What should I do? I was thinking of waiting about 1 to 3 years and trying one last time. Can I
Yes, you may.
say? Okay.
Mhm.
So multiple times. There's only so many times you can be rejected before a person can make it clear that they're really not into you.
I know, but let me before I throw it to you guys, let me add that he's written again today and said, like, she plays with my hair and she wrestles with me, and she's like, everything that he's reading into her flirty behavior. She says that you're like a brother to me, but she's still kind of like very touchy with him and all that. But I just think that girls do that, and that you have to just base it on her words and not hope to read something into all of her behaviors.
Yeah,
Ryan.
he's got to move on.
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons in life that has to do with this type of circumstance, but really any emotion, is understanding that it's totally okay to feel how you feel, but you can't always act on those feelings. So you've been rejected by her multiple times. There's no question she knows you're interested in her, and you asking her out is only you trying to tell her again, hey, I'm interested in you, and she knows. So at this point, it's okay. You don't have to stop loving her. You should start putting your focus elsewhere and start trying to be interested in other people. But you don't have to stop feeling the way you feel. You just have to stop acting on it and take care of yourself and set those boundaries. If she's playing with your hair or whatnot, then say, hey, these things kind of make me feel a way that I'm not really comfortable with because you say these things, but you act another way. So that needs to stop. Or, you can tell her in the moment that needs to stop. But just take care of yourself, and you don't have to change how you feel. You just have to not always respond to that. Lyric?
If you've ever seen Crazy Stupid Love, like there's, if people have seen it, there's like this guy that's really into this one girl in the movie, and she's older, and she's like, no, I don't want to be with you. And, but he's like, I'm still going to keep trying in a few years. Like, I'm going to look, I don't know, like, I'm going to look different. But I think, like, you don't need to, like, totally give up, but you don't need to keep making it verbal that you're, like, pursuing her, like, asking her out multiple times. I think you just need to, like, it's okay that you have those feelings, basically what Ryan said, but, like, it's okay that you have those feelings, just you can keep them to yourself because she, but,
How do you guys feel about those people?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
do that sometimes. It's no one doesn't like flirting, and it's especially easy and rewarding to flirt with someone you know is interested in you. And
really?
it's,
Even though you
No
know that
CS.
they're reading something into that?
well, it's not like a very conscious, like, I'm totally going to go mess with this person, but you start talking to them, and they always are going to push the conversation in that direction, and it's really fun to respond with that. And it kind of gives you that, like, butterfly, like, kind of that high feeling of just flirting with someone, and it's hard not to do that, I think, when you have that knowledge. Maddie?
I mean, here's the thing, is that there are, like, naturally flirty people out there who just kind of, like, that's their kind of baseline is flirty, which is fine. Like, that's okay. But then if there's this kind of situation going on, I'm assuming this is a guy.
It's a guy.
Yeah, he needs to, like, set boundaries with her if this is what's going on. Like, there are flirty people out there, but then, people who are not okay with that flirting happening, they just need to be like, hey, listen, like, I'm not okay with, like, these particular things that you're doing. Which is, like, fine.
Well, he's more than okay with it. He just wants to read something into it.
Right, but
So I think he
that's
needs
making
to
it not
say,
okay for him. 'Cause
Look,
It's not healthy
You
for
may
him.
say
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
like a
healthy for
brother, but you
Yeah.
don't do this with your brother.
no,
Like,
you
because
don't.
that'd be kind of weird. So don't treat me in a romantic way when you've told me a number of times that you don't see me romantically, because it gives me hope where there is none. So,
Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, touching off what Maddie said, I mean, I'm a baseline flirty person. Like, and I have my own boundaries, and they're really far out there. I know other people have boundaries that are, like, right here, and it sounds like that's where his boundaries need to be with her. I think that while he may be enjoying it, it's not healthy, like Ryan said. And for me, like, I don't know until somebody communicates with me what their boundaries are. So she knows that you like her. That's not a question. But she may not know that she's crossing those boundaries.
So what about the idea of him just waiting for 1 to 3
No.
years? It sounds like he just wants to not have to stop loving her, because that's hard, Ryan.
The healthiest point to be at in this is to hope that in 3 years you don't have this problem anymore. So to hope that in 3 years you can try again, and trust me, it's going to not go the way you hope it will, is almost like, but she's not into you. And if she ever is, at this point you got to put your focus elsewhere. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I know and I hear that you say that you like her and you love her and that you think that this is meant to be. However, 1 to 3 years is a long period of time, especially if you've already been doing this for 5 or 6. And I think that also else, and if it
Has anyone gone through that?
Well, I'm like in between those
I
two
have
steps
Yeah.
You're
right
in
now.
between. Okay, it's
with
gonna
a
happen.
friend, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like this friend that I had that we were really close, but then it ended, and then I was like, well, and then I did get a better friend that were even closer than I was with this other person.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that cycle through your life, and
Right.
it's maybe it's a different type of relationship. Maybe like you have that more fun relationship with her, but then with another person you still feel just as close, but it's more of like a deeper connection. I don't know. So, but you will find people that you feel just as strongly about. I definitely feel like
and
that's
it's
a
just
guarantee.
it's hard to know that at such a young age when you don't have any frame of reference yet, but it will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this situation before, not as long as he has, and then as well as like, I also don't want to like say don't, because it is possible that something could develop down the line, but it also takes you being someone other than who you're being right now, because whoever you're being right now, she's not interested in. And for me, like my current relationship, it was like she was chasing me for years, and I didn't even consider it until recently, like this past January. But it was because there was things going on with me that I had to work through first. So if you really want this to work, I would say focus on yourself and work through some things for yourself, and then possibly it could open up in the future. I know, Victoria, you want to say them?
Yep. What I was saying was that I know these people that they were friends for like 15 years, and then like one day they were just like, why don't we just go on a date? And then they ended up getting married like a few like months after that, because they already knew each other, and they knew each other's weaknesses, they knew each other's strengths, and they just were like best friends. They called each other best friends even though they're married, but it's not in so much in a bad way, you know what I mean? It's in a good way. And I think that's the best marriage you can like have. It's like a best friend. You know the person, you want to please the person all the time. You know
Right.
what I mean?
But right now at this point, she's not there. So what Josh was saying was, you need to behave differently, which is, go out there and give people a chance and get to know other people, focus on other people in a way that you're not currently doing because you're so focused on this one girl. And she's either going to miss you or you're going to stop caring whether or not she does. One of two things has to happen, but you can't continue with this dynamic because it's out of balance and it's not working. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. Who's ready to read? Josh?
Yeah. What are some good reasons to graduate high school early? When the school year starts, I want to talk to the office about ways to graduate early, but is it selfish? I really can't deal with school and I want to move on with my life.
Go ahead, Lyric.
So, I mean, my friends that I know that are possibly going to be graduating high school early are extremely gifted in academics and or homeschooled. So, because usually if you're homeschooled, you can kind of skip over a couple of years, but it's usually the people that are really good at academics and can do like 2 years worth of work in 1 year, or are just like really high in a certain thing. But I think if it's just that you really struggle with school, but like you don't have anything like amazing at academics, it's going to be hard to skip all of those years. I mean, usually the only reason why a teacher or someone would let you do that is if you are really good at academics.
Victoria?
Okay, so I think there's this test that people take. I don't know if it's skipping school completely, but it allows you to be able to work. I know that a lot of actors take it.
The legal 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Is
not
that the
that's
same
not for
thing?
skipping school, no.
No? Okay.
But it is
Well,
so that you can be able to like be a legal 18-year-old.
Yeah. So like if you want to work, I guess that works.
So that you wouldn't need a guardian on the set or a teacher on the set,
Yeah,
do you mean?
that's
Yeah.
what it's for.
So Maddie knows a bit about, kind of going a little bit rapidly through high school.
Yeah, actually, both Maylia and I do because that's how we met. We were in the same school together. Yeah, so basically what happened is I mean, like, I wasn't, like, weak in academics, but I wasn't say I was, like, the top of my class. Like, I'm smart, but, like, I would say probably, like, 50 academics and 50 outside academic, like 50%, clearly. And I don't know. The reason why I wanted to, like, go to college early was because I didn't really want to finish high school. I didn't really like school that much. So, even though a lot of people are, like, strong academics who want to finish high school early, I wasn't one of those. I didn't like school enough to be, like, that strong of an academic. I didn't really care. So for me, it was about kind of getting through it faster. And for me, it really worked. You know, I'm going to be a junior in college when I would have been a senior.
And you're only 17 years old.
Yeah.
So for you, it had to do with like high school is not really working out for me, just in terms of emotionally and socially. And I can skip all this drama and go straight to like almost like a junior college, city college type of situation, get all the credits I need to then go to college and be a junior. It's like, it's not like that you use the word selfish. Like that's like a completely inappropriate word to bring into this occasion. It has nothing to do with selfish. It has to do with you taking care of self, which is if high school isn't working out for you, and for a lot of kids socially, if there's a city college in your area and you can go straight to city college and start working towards what you would need to have your first 2 years of college done, that's what homeschoolers do. So I don't see anything selfish about it. Ryan, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's definitely not selfish, and I think Maddie exactly made the case that it works for some people. I would just also say that I think for me, I was in high school all 4 years that high school is, and I think each year was crucial for me in developing and becoming who I am. And I think like it's not like you lose that time in your life. You don't actually skip a year of development. But I think being in high school contributed to that. And so I think that's just also something to take into consideration. It doesn't mean I enjoyed it all. It doesn't mean it was easy. But I think that the good things and the bad things contributed to my growth and maturation.
Right. I mean, most colleges will ask for high school transcripts and SATs and all these things. And so there's like a lot to take into consideration if you're going to pull yourself out of college and go straight to city college or straight to another pathway. You have to talk to guidance counselors and your parents and really everyone sit and discuss like what's the best thing to do for this particular child so that your needs are met. Lyric.
Yeah, and I think like just assessing if like you feel that you could, and I know some people say that college is actually easier than high school. I don't know. I've heard people say that. But it's also if you feel like you could be in that environment, because some people feel that they're better with, a little bit of older people, even though they might not be that much older than you. Or some people feel that like they would really want to be with people at their age group. I don't know. I think just really, like everyone said, assessing the situation and seeing if you will be able to keep up with college and if you like feel like that's a better environment for you. I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with either way. It's just what you feel is going to benefit you the most.
Yeah. And it's okay to say like, I'm not happy doing this and I need to have a conversation about what alternatives there are out there for me. And that is not selfish. That's actually really self-full, which is a good way to be. Who wants to read the next question? Ryan?
Sure. Anonymous says, my family has called people who possibly have mental disorders freaks and possessed. Why would they say something like that? Why would they think someone who might have a mental disorder was a freak or possessed? I have more than one mental disorder, so hearing this from my own family is just horrible.
That's horrible.
To me, it feels like his family has some history with this because they've probably passed it on to him and that they haven't addressed it or even named it correctly so that it can be addressed. And so everyone's kind of unevolved when it comes to this. And so you're the being the more mature one here, but don't let them freak you out because they're just simply uninformed, and uninformed people can say really mean things about something that they don't know anything about as a defensive mechanism. Ryan? Yeah,
I was just going to say that exactly kind of what you were saying. It's an uninformed perspective, and I think if you are not interested in understanding something, it's really easy to push it away and just kind of erase it by insulting it or
especially if you're afraid that you have it.
Right, yeah, because then you don't have to face it.
Yeah, Lyric?
And like mental disorders are an actual like circuit in your brain that isn't like normal people's, like what the idea of a functioning brain, that sounds really horrible. But it's not that like you are just acting a certain way because like you're possessed. I don't know. There's an actual thing going on in your brain. It's not like a choice. I don't know. So clearly they don't understand what's going on, and just don't listen to that because that's a negative perspective from someone who has no idea what they're talking about. And no, you are not a freak or possessed just because you have something going on. Your brain just works differently. It's simply that.
We could probably go around this room if we wanted to, and each of us could say some letters that we think apply to us. I feel like everybody has something, and
yes,
I'm not afraid to say what I think I have because I'm sure it's a combination of different things. But it's almost like the previous question where it's like it's self-full to say this is what I need, and for you to say like, oh, I have a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of OCD or a little bit of ADD or whatever, which I'm sure if we went around the room we'd be going through the alphabet of different things. That
I don't know anyone who doesn't have something.
Exactly. So for your family to be saying that, like, you're not going to change their minds, and maybe like I feel like when you're older and you're living elsewhere, you can visit your parents and go, all right, listen, you guys, like this is kind of like ill-informed, and I've learned that this is this, and so. But when you have to sleep there and you're only 16, it's like don't even get into it with them. Just be like, just like, and just ignore. I mean, yeah. Kind of like your parents are on a need-to-know basis when it comes to things that you're not going to be able to change their religious beliefs or their political beliefs, and you're not going to be able to change their beliefs about, mental, issues, because they don't want to know, especially from the smart alecky 16-year-old across the table who thinks they know more than them, because you probably do. Maddie?
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, this is probably a bad idea, but I would probably just, very silently, very subtly, like tack up like research on mental disorders around the house. Just like a little like medical journal here, a little like printout there. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. Don't do that.
You can
just
just
a very sarcastic.
No, I like
Don't
that.
do that.
Do it.
But if your parents are like legitimately gonna be very upset with you for this, like you are still living in their house.
But also
I
at the
would
same
just
time,
say
like if you
mouth
feel like
shut.
you need help in a certain area, like go speak to the counselor at school, because
That's
maybe if the counselor speaks to your parents, the counselor can help.
You're not. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just a different way you learn.
Learn or
Yeah.
think or feel or any of the
Yeah.
above.
It really is.
Yeah, Lyric.
Now, one thing that I'm just wondering about is how they're saying I have more than one more than one mental disorder. So are these self-diagnosed? That kind of sounds like what it is, because if it was actually medically diagnosed, then your parents would know about this. So I'm just thinking that it's like, that you struggle with stuff, and it's almost like if they don't know that, then they're just thinking you're like just struggling for some reason. So I think that if they can know what's going on from a counselor or something, if you can talk to them about it, they might understand you a bit better and not even think that you're a freak or that's horrible. I mean, I hope that they're not saying that to you.
Well, also when it comes to parents, they feel an intense sense of responsibility, and if they feel like maybe their child isn't completely normal, healthy, and well adjusted, that someone's going to look at them and say, "What did you do to mess up this child?" So some parents are just not really very evolved when it comes to even like attending to their own child's needs, because they think it will reflect poorly on them. Victoria.
I mean, like sometimes they just may not realize that you have a mental disorder, because like for example, before I found out I had dyslexia, my parents thought, oh, maybe I'm not just focusing, or I'm just not wanting to do it. It was not because of that. It was because I just couldn't see things right.
Was it
not
a relief?
right, but like
Was it a relief to you to get that diagnosis?
Yes,
and have
it
an
was.
explanation?
It was a real relief, and we found places that helped, and now I can use it to my advantage instead.
Excellent.
So why don't you bring that up to your parents or something similar to that? Like find out what it is, and you can use it to your advantage.
You have to name it to claim it and to heal it. Like the first thing that happens when you go to the doctor isn't just like, hey, take like 100 medicines. It's like, let's find out what you have, and then like, oh, this will clear up that rash, because you can't just like. You can't really attend to anything until you know what it is. Is it a fire? Is it a hurricane? What is it? We need to know what it is, and then we can attend to it. So just wanting to remain ignorant and just say, oh, well, you know what? Like everybody who suffers from something along those lines is not right or is something to be feared. That's not a healthy way to approach anyone that you encounter, even like understanding other people, your own children, and yourself. So, but you may not be able to really teach your parents all of those lessons until you're fully grown. So right now, let's just focus on what you need. Maddie.
Yeah, and if I'm not sure how old this person is, but I think after 16, there's doctor-patient confidentiality. So if you're getting treated for, like, if you're able to go and get treated for a mental disorder, your parents don't have to know that that's what you're getting treated for. I'm pretty sure it's 16.
It might be different state by state.
Yeah, it could vary different per state, but I think here in California that it's 16.
That's amazing.
You can look it up per state wherever you are, but
and also just please bear in mind that when you hear your parents saying these things, it's because they're fearful. It's not because they actually think you would be crazy if they knew the truth. They're uninformed, and that's all this is.
Or they're trying to fight off a mental disorder themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, we do that all the time.
Sure. So if I would say go see a counselor and, get to the bottom of it and know that, we all have something and you're going to be just fine. Lyric, would you please read the next question?
Yeah. My boyfriend of 2 years cheated on me about a month ago. He was sorry and begged for another chance. I forgave him. Okay, but I can't seem to forget it. Okay, I can't read today.
She's so weary.
this.
She's just weary,
I have
Ryan.
not had anything to eat until recently, and I'm gonna pass out. So
My
Ryan.
boyfriend of 2 years cheated on me about a month ago. He was sorry and begged for another chance. I forgave him, but I can't seem to forget it, and I find myself getting jealous over everything. All his friends are slutty, and that makes it worse. He's 18 and going to college soon, and I won't be seeing him every day, making me worry more about what he's doing with other girls. Should I call a break? Did I actually ever forgive him? And can I just respond to that right off the bat? So similar situation at the start of the summer with me, same end as you. And what I learned about forgiveness is that there's 2 steps to it. There's the mental idea that you choose, you want to forgive someone, and you say I forgive you, I accept your apology, whatever that means. And then there's just this internal decision that comes with time and you don't really, in my opinion, have a ton of control over it. And that's just how you feel towards someone, how something sits with you. It has to do with just what your morals are and what you value and how you feel towards someone. Because for me, very early on, I was like, you know what? I forgive this. And that was mental, but I never felt that way. And I still don't feel that way. And so inside I have very angry feelings about it, and I don't want to, but I don't have a choice right now with what those feelings are. I don't act on them. I don't scream. I don't do anything about it. I just know that I haven't forgiven the person inside of me, even though in my head I want to. So that's the thing about forgiveness that you'll have to learn. And I will say also, college complicates things. And I think that people don't generally cheat unless there's something going on in the relationship. And that doesn't mean that you have a horrible relationship. I just think it means that there's some lack of satisfaction somewhere. They don't feel like they're getting all they need from that relationship. And it's totally your choice to end it. But if you think that it's going to be taking away from your daily life, if you're going to be worrying about these things, then go ahead and do that or call a break or something like that. Maddie?
Cheating is kind of it is a break of trust, and trust is really complicated, especially in relationships that are kind of in the age range of 18, 16, 18. So, forgiveness, that kind of once a cheater, always a cheater thing, that's really, really debatable. Everyone has a different opinion on that. So the question, I think we had a question kind of similar to this last week, where it was kind of should you, it was do you guys remember the question last week?
Well, there was someone who was saying he got cheated on, and then the girl didn't want to be with him anymore, but he wanted to look out for her because the new guy she was with was
he called
menacing. Or
right, yeah. So I don't know. It's it's kind of is the problem that you had where the trust was broken is that problem fixed, or is that problem still there?
But I just really want to stress that even when the problem's not there, there's a certain lack of control you have over the way you feel towards certain things, and that you are saying you don't, you ask, did you ever forgive him? And the answer is no. You chose that you wanted to forgive him, that you hoped that's the way your feelings would settle, but that's not what ended up happening. And then I'm saying, for me, I wish I didn't feel angry about what happened, but I do. And you have to just be okay with understanding that's how you feel, and you can't get past that until that stops, and there's really nothing you can do to stop that except let it happen if it does. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I get the surface, you chose to forget him, but the deeper internal level, the only way you're going to get past that is figuring out and identifying what you made it mean about yourself, because that's the only reason why you're hung up on it still. You're not forgiving him because you haven't forgiven yourself for putting yourself in that situation, and until you realize what you made it mean about yourself. So for me, I had a relationship that went south, and yeah, I forgave her off the bat. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm still your friend, I want to be your friend, and all this other stuff. However, like you said, it's still there. And at the end of the day, I didn't realize until probably 6 months ago, which is well after the relationship ended, that it's because I made it mean that I'm not good enough to be in a relationship. And the reason why I got so upset and so mad is because deep down, that's what I truly believed. And because of that, that's why I didn't truly forgive her. Now, the moment I realized that I'm the cause of my world and the cause of my center of everything around me, and the reason why, it probably even happened because that vibe was in the relationship. I'm not good enough to be in a relationship with you, so that's what I'm inputting. So that's what's happened. And at the end of the day, you have to forgive yourself first, because there's something there that you've made yourself mean about you. Mm-hmm. And until you identify that, there's no forgiveness for the other person either.
Wow, that's pretty
very
deep.
smart.
That's like one of those thought loops where you're working on it for a little while before you get it. Lyric.
And also, I mean, people, I really liked what you said, but I think sometimes people just have a thing where they need to cheat to fulfill like something in themselves, and it doesn't even have to do with the other person. It just is something in them. So I don't think that it, I know like you said that it could be that they weren't feeling fulfilled in the relationship, but it could also be that they have something in themselves and it has nothing to do with you.
Oh, I'm not saying it was your fault in any way, and it totally could be, but I'm just saying they still feel that way, whether or not, but you're right, it can be totally related to them and only them.
So one of the things that I wanted to say about forgiveness and in cheating inside of a relationship is like you really have two healthy choices. One is to break up with the person and move on. The other is to completely forgive and understand and move back and be stronger. That one is really hard. The first one is really hard. What people usually do is neither. They go back with the person, but they don't completely forgive, and so they stay in this unhealthy.
Which is what's happening in this question.
Yes, and so especially when you read between the lines about slutty people that he's not ready to be committed to one person. I feel like I don't know if he ever will be, but for him to go off to college and for you to be spending every day checking your messages and checking his online behavior isn't going to be a good picture for you at all. It's not going to be a good look on anybody. So I say I'm voting for the break right here.
Yeah.
I agree, because you just, like I said, you haven't forgiven him, even if you want to.
Yeah, even if you want. That's the thing, because feelings take their own path.
Right. That's.
Yeah, and I think like you said, there's like two different options. It's either break or completely forgive everything, yourself, him, whatever, and clean the slate. However, that also comes with maturity and age. I don't think that at your age that it will be an option right now. I think the break is what.
And I don't think he's earned that.
No, yeah.
Lyric.
Yeah, and also just like going into college is actually when a lot of people break up because they know that they may be meeting new people in that environment. And I don't know. It's just, I think that you need to, this is just like the perfect opportunity to end this.
It is. It's like a nice kind of.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, like, and scene. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like, it wouldn't be so right to go ahead and have a relationship after that. And I don't think, I mean, some people, there have been times when a guy's been like, I see that I messed up and I need to fix this and I like messed up really bad. But it's not when they're going off to college and they have a lot of slutty friends.
No.
It's that they realize like something was going on and then they realize, no, I can't do that.
He's not there.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, you don't know if he will be, like you said.
Maybe in 5 years he will be. He's not there
But
right now.
Right now, no.
All right, so we're going to just jump to the last question from Puppy Love. It says, what personality types do boys find most attractive? It seems like we've been getting a lot of these questions where people think there's a finite answer to something that has to do with, personal taste. Lyric?
I mean, why don't you ask yourself, what type of personality types do girls, I'm guessing this is a girl, do girls find attractive? I mean, any type. It just depends on the person. It's not like there's no, everyone likes this type. It's that a different person might like a shy person and a different person might like an outgoing person. There's no, like, I don't know, but let's hear from a guy.
Well, I mean, I can talk to that part of it too, but I was also just going to mention, and this sounds like kind of negative at first, but we've all seen like really weird couples and we're like, I don't get why people are interested in them, but they're together because everyone is attracted to something, and there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of things for everyone to be attracted to. And so they're like weird people we look at and we're like, I don't see what it is, but someone does. Someone sees what it is. So exactly what you were saying, there's so many different things guys find attractive, and yeah, certain people have their types, but there's no universal and drape you can put over it.
And just because you find yourself like romantically drawn to one person that makes like a really good like coupleness for you, you may have, and he may be like really quiet, and you may have like several guy friends who are like really outgoing and nothing like the person that you're with, because there's one person that's good like as a couple person, and then there's other people that you admire or you want to have who are interesting and who just kind of complement you. And so if you look at all your friends and ask yourself like, oh, do I only have friends who are like this one thing? No. So, and you can easily fall in love with someone who that you like today you're saying is not your type. Like next week or a year from now, it'll be like, oh, you're with this guy? Like, I thought you didn't like guys that were like this type, but that. Well, you just found yourself falling in love. So you just can't really predict these things, Ryan.
I really like what you said about the friendship element and how you can ask yourself, do you have certain like one personality type that you're friends with? And I think like very clearly we could probably all come up with like two people who we're really close with who would hate each other because, and I think that's like, that highlights that, like that you have two friends who are so opposite of each other, but you like them both, and I think that kind of puts it in perspective.
Yeah. And then at your birthday party, you're like, oh, are they both going to be
Yeah,
there?
exactly.
Like, it's like matter and antimatter. What's going to happen? Maddie.
Although, I do think that, it sounds like this person everybody does kind of have like a type, well, not a type, but has qualities that they admire in other people that they're looking for romantically.
Yeah.
So if, don't think like if somebody says, oh, like I like, I don't know, somebody throw out a
Sporty.
quality. Yeah. I like sporty guys. That doesn't mean that like, a guy who likes me should change themselves to be sporty.
Or that you
Right.
wouldn't date someone
Yeah.
who's not sporty.
Or that I
Yeah.
wouldn't date somebody who's not sporty. Exactly. So like there's just, there's too much going on for you to like try to change yourself to become a quality of
Yeah.
someone who you're interested in.
I mean, you're right to
Not
read
a
that
good
into the
idea.
question, Maddie, that they're
Yeah.
trying to say like, oh, well, should I change myself to have more guys like me? So I think most guys would say like above and beyond whether or not you're sporty or intellectual or musical or dancey or whatever, like a guy would say like, does she have integrity? Is she intelligent?
How
Is
does she make me
sweet?
feel?
Is she kind to people that don't matter in her life? Like, what's her character? Like, that's way ahead of any like one type of personality, Josh.
Yeah, I think if you're going to focus on anything, like across the board, no matter what personality type, confidence is key. Like that will read in anything. Like, and I think that if you want to focus on something, focus on being confident in whatever you're doing. So,
But how do you become confident if you're not?
Fake it till you make it.
Like, do you make it?
exactly.
Yes.
That's the one.
I
That's
mean,
like one of the
that's-
few things that really works for his confidence. I would say I usually don't advocate for that, but definitely with confidence, you can put on a mask and it'll eventually just become real.
So like if you like, let's say Ryan and Josh, if you guys were pop stars and you
Mhm.
had to fill out one of those teen magazine quizzes that said, what kind of girl do you like? Ryan.
Kind of like, well, this is gonna sound bad. Well, okay, I'll start with sporty. That doesn't sound bad. But then also like kind of like ditzy is kind of attractive at first, but then I want you to have some depth there. Like you need to be a smart person. I appreciate loyalty a lot, and then someone who can kind of roll with life's punches.
Ditzy,
That's nice.
semicolon,
Josh.
depth.
Well, no, but just surface
I
level
want ditzy
ditziness.
depth.
someone who has same and common interests as me, as well as also is not in the same industry. Someone who like has a separate life and can keep it separate. And also, let's see what else. Oh, someone who's their word. Yeah.
Their word is their bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lyric, what kind of guy do you, or girl or guy, whatever.
I don't know. I tend to really just like outgoing people
Yeah.
that can have a nice conversation and that I have something in common with. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I really have a
A
type.
type, yeah.
I don't really like I've never liked a guy who's really shy, but generally people who can talk to me.
Yeah, that's good. Because you're
Yes.
very conversational.
Yes.
Victoria, do you have a type?
Oh, I guess you can say one who doesn't change around their friends when they're around me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
who-
important.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's it.
No,
That's
you're
a
still-
good one.
She's still very young. Maddie.
Oh.
Oh,
I think someone who is like able to have confidence in themselves and their decisions, because people who kind of second guess themselves constantly, I find tend to have a lot of confidence issues in themselves and kind of in relationships, and then that kind of just causes a tumble down in a lot of things. So yeah, I guess just like confidence as a base level thing, but also like, I don't know, character that like they've established and they are confident in, like not changing based on just life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Stability.
they
in terms
are
of-
who they are and
yeah.
they're like okay with it.
Excellent. We've been Journals Out Loud. I want to thank the panel. Round of applause for everybody. We are Journals Network. Please find us and friend us all across social media, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.